Hi, I'd like to speak to you today about the way we see Hi, I'd like to speak to you today about the way we look at obesity and weight gain. Now these days it seems to be quite fashionable to call obesity a disease, and they talk about the obesity epidemic as if it was spreading like some kind of infectious disease. But I don't think that's a very accurate description of what's going on at all. I see obesity as a symptom, and there are many different conditions that this could actually be a symptom of. The most common condition that leads to obesity is insulin resistance. Now, insulin resistance has many sub-branches. It's often called syndrome X or metabolic syndrome, and some people may have polycystic ovaries syndrome, which is another subset of insulin resistance. But all the subsets of insulin resistance lead you to type 2 diabetes, which you may eventually need to end up on insulin for. And they're often treated first of all with a particular medication. And clients I've had who've had this condition could not lose weight even when they were following strictly my diet routine, which works for most people, and the exercise plan I set for them, and nothing was budging. There's also some other telltale signs for polycystic ovaries, like the growth of facial hair on women. So without the medication, which is called metformin, these clients couldn't lose weight, and once they'd been on the medication for a certain period of time and it had lowered their blood sugar for them sufficiently, they were then able to lose weight. So obesity is not a disease in itself, but it may well be the first symptom that you have to see that you have something else that you need to look for. There are other things that also cause you to gain weight without you really having any responsibility for it, and some of them are autoimmune conditions. The first and most obvious one is one called Hashimoto's, named after the doctor who named it and who discovered it. It's actually a thyroid condition whereby the body produces antibodies to some of the thyroid hormones. Now when this happens, you will not be producing enough of the necessary thyroid hormones to keep your metabolism at a good pace. Now when your metabolism slows down, you get very, very tired and you use less calories and you gain weight. So Hashimoto's patients might be eating very little and still gaining weight. And obesity may be their first sign and symptom that they've actually got this condition that they need to get checked out. And the last one I'd like to talk about, conditions that can cause you to gain weight, of course there would be others, but these are just 3 that come to my mind quite quickly, is one that's not often tested for. And it appears to be a blood sugar condition, and it's when you test positive for antibodies to your own insulin. So that's not often tested. And if you have this condition, one of the most dramatic things that you'll notice, apart from that you're gaining weight, is that after eating a meal, particularly a meal heavy in sugar or carbohydrates, you'll become very, very tired very, very quickly. If it's a high sugar meal, you may even pass out. Interestingly, if these people go and do the glucose tolerance test, which is the test that most doctors use to test for blood sugar conditions, it comes out as normal. And people who've had this test and who have anti-insulin antibodies tell me that they drank the sugary drink, which is full of glucose, and then they just about passed out. They were lying down on the floor in the waiting room. And then when they had their insulin checked and their blood sugar checked through the next, usually over 2 hours post-test, they were told that their results were normal. The insulin was clearing out of their blood. They had normal amounts of insulin. The sugar was clearing out of their blood in a normal fashion. And so the doctor told them there's nothing wrong with them. Well, these patients knew there was something wrong with them. But at that time, I had no explanation for them. I do now. What happens is, if you've got antibodies to your own insulin, these antibodies are quite large, and they actually attach onto the insulin molecules in your blood after your pancreas releases them. That means those insulin molecules are no longer able to fit through the cell membrane and take the sugar from your blood into the cells. And of course, without sugar going through the cell membranes of your cells into the cells, you have no energy for the processes of life, including to power your brain and stay awake. So that's why that postprandial crashing, as I call it, energy crashes, is probably one of the most obvious signs of this condition. So that's all very interesting, but it doesn't help you lose weight or find which one of those it is. And you really would need to get some tests done to find out which one it is. But the good news is that the same things that I prescribe to people for weight loss will actually also help with these conditions. It won't cure any of the conditions. You will need medical treatment. But if you do have one of these conditions, the best kind of diet to go on is definitely one where you cut out really sugar in anything, any added sugar or sugar from most things, and starches. So meaning starchy carbohydrates, so your pasta, your rice, your bread, all those things, the things that cause you to crash if you've got anti-insulin antibody, are also the things that are feeding into your high insulin levels if you have one of the other conditions. And they also go towards antibody production. They will make you make more antibodies, but that's got to do with allergies, and I'm going into that another time, another video. So the kind of diet that I prescribe is the diet that helps people lose weight, and it will help with these conditions. So what you need to do is eat plenty of good fats. That means fats as they occur in nature. Avocados are good, coconut oil's good, cold pressed extra virgin oils are good too, like olive oil and so forth, as long as they're not heated. The fats off all your meats are really good. Protein foods are quite good, but not too much, because they do raise your insulin levels. They do elevate your insulin levels somewhat. And lots of green leafy vegetables, salad vegetables are good. And not too many starchy ones. Keep away from the starches and keep away from the sugars. Thank you very much.